Hey everyone, and welcome to this Thursday edition of Scouting the League. What a few days we had in Nashville. Felt like a full week, but really just about 2 days total. A whirlwind of sessions, networking, shaking hands, and for me, seeing a ton of scouts I used to spend time with on the road, as well as getting to meet so many of you faithful listeners that are out there every week. Get to meet you in person. It was really cool. And I believe I speak for Neil when I say it was awesome to get some feedback as we continue to try to bring you all the good scouting content that you want. Before we jump into a symposium wrap up, let me remind you to go like, subscribe, and share this podcast and video wherever you are watching and listening, whether it's on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or that video portion over on YouTube. Hit like, hit subscribe, share it with a friend. You know you have people in your life that love football, that love scouting as much as you do, so make sure you get it to them. While you're at it, make sure you go follow our new home, profootballinsiders.com at pro_FB_insiders. Give me a follow if you are not already at RightStepADV. Check out my website, rsafootball.com, as well as Neil. He is at Inside the League. InsideTheLeague.com is where you can find him. So let's jump into this symposium. 1,100 people. At one point, we did hear that they had to cut off new registrations as the fire marshal said we were at capacity. You looked in any of the rooms during about any session and you could see standing room only. Tables were filled, chairs were filled, a lot of really, really good session. A lot of really good networking, and that was a big portion. Number of sessions really focused on the networking piece, how to do it, when to do it, the best way to do it. And it was really good 2 to 3 days for everybody there, no matter whether you want to be in college scouting, college personnel, NFL scouting, NFL personnel. But now the real work has to begin. For everybody out there that was at the symposium, got business cards, got new numbers, the real work has to begin now of staying in touch with these people in the right way. Again, one of those pieces that we talked about, Neil and I have talked about it again, reading the room, having touch. It is about to be the busy season for everybody in football, no matter NFL or college. And so this can be a really tough time to start to develop relationships. Remember that. You hit them a text, it may be a week before they get back to you. Again, one text, you don't want to be, kind of like the old dating rules. You don't want to have 3 or 4 texts in a row that are like, hey, this guy's just too much or this girl's too much. You got to have some situational awareness. Say, hey, good luck this weekend. You don't need a response to that. Or, hey, just saw you on TV, heard something you said was really awesome. You don't need a response to that. As you develop that relationship, one of those underrated traits that really became apparent doing the interview process at the NFL level is there are people that understand how to read a room and have some situational awareness with how to stay in touch. That is a huge piece of that networking. You can't be too much. You can't be over the top. You don't want to be that type of person. So let the real work begin. If you have more questions on it, hit me up. We can talk about, again, best practices, all that kind of good stuff. So that networking piece was huge. Obviously a huge part of the 3 days we were there in Nashville. Another piece that kept coming up was that professionalism in scouting. And this goes both at the college level and the pro level. And again, I remember back to when I was an intern in 2013 spring, Urban Meyer's the head coach. Mike Vrabel is kind of the guy that I answer to in that defensive line room. And at one point, Urban comes into the room. He's like, man, we got a lot of guys just walking around in khakis and, looking real square and stiff. And to be honest, the great Mark Pantoni kind of set that standard. If you're in personnel, if you're in scouting, again, you look like you want to be there in a professional way. Again, there were people kind of popping in and out, athletic shorts, kind of older wrinkled shirts. Again, there's a time for that. It's called the practice field. But again, oftentimes when you're scouting, again, you want to be a professional. You want to look professional. Again, that may not mean your khakis with your shirt tucked in. Again, have your own style, but again, look like you belong there in a professional manner. Again, I would be one to say sweats aren't the answer. Sweats are never the answer. Again, there's a time to throw a sweatshirt on, but again, have some pressed blue jeans or have some nice khakis or whatever it may be. If you're in your own building, you have your own dress code, live up to that dress code, or maybe a step above that dress code. If you want to set yourself apart a little bit, again, come up with your style, come up with what you're comfortable with. Don't be over the top. Again, kind of back to that networking piece, but do the things that make you look like, hey, I am serious about this. I am serious about personnel. I'm serious about scouting, all those good things. It will make a difference. People that matter will notice. I got ribbed plenty for, again, what my style became. Again, I'm just a stiff white guy. Again, whatever, that's my style. I'm going to live with it, and we'll laugh about it together. So if you're at the conference, if you're at any conferences, anything in the future, again, keep that same principle in mind. Again, have a polo, have nice something with a collar on it, your logo, your team's logo, whatever it may be. Always things to really keep that professionalism in scouting at the forefront of your mind. Other things that were talked about, obviously the changing industry, both at the college level and then in the NFL. Again, colleges, are they going to come back to balances? We've seen great expansion of personnel departments, but again, we're hearing more and more that, hey, we're expecting to have to cut back, whether it's somebody in the creative, or whether it's part of our personnel department, whether it's a dedicated portal person, if it's extra DPPs, whatever it may be. Again, the college is going to come back to balance. There is an equilibrium. We're not there yet. Again, there's a lot of shoes left to drop before we get there, but we are going to see some changes. And then the NFL level, it wasn't talked about a ton from a panel standpoint, but came up in some conversations I had. Again, are we going to continue to see a veteran heavy, get rid of some of these, kind of more senior road scouts? We're going to go to more AI scouting. We're more analytics scouting. Again, a lot of changes that are kind of, we're kind of feeling them out in the NFL. There's NFL people, hey, we're kind of, 32 different buildings, 32 different ways of doing things. There's going to be changes. Everybody knows that. And then there was a really interesting panel that, again, a great majority of people there, again, probably said, hey, I want to be an NFL scout. That's what I want to do. That's what I'm working for. That's why I took this college job, perhaps. That was my case. When I chose Ohio State, it was because I wanted to be in the NFL. But we had three individuals, Scott Aligo, Sean McGee, and I believe it was Mr. Welton down at Alabama, all pro, all college experience, painted a much rosier picture for working in college than the NFL, which I thought was really interesting. From salaries, again, we'll see them come back down. It'll come to balance. Work-life balance, again, they painted a rosier picture for college. Again, for the relationships, the development, a really rosy picture for college. And yet I would almost promise you, most people are like, yep, still NFL, which again, the NFL is the big time. That's what most people want. It's the highest level of football in the world. So again, something to think about. A really good session. Again, those guys were really gave good insight. Again, and probably I would argue some of the more honest insight we heard from some of these different sessions throughout the day. Salaries were another big one. Again, we'll see the salaries come back, but again, it was a really good session. And then there was some really good stuff from team and agent relations, some former CAP guys that talked about kind of that relationship. And again, imagine that. Agents and front office people, agents and scouts. It comes back to relationships. Sat down, had a phenomenal meal with a couple of agents that I knew there. And again, that's what it's about. Again, mutually beneficial relationships built on honesty. There's a wild idea. Mutually beneficial relationships built on honesty. If we did that in every facet of our life, I think it would be better. Again, in our work life, it is just as important. So that kind of wraps it up. Overall, was a really fantastic event. Again, the Personnel Recruiting Symposium, an event that has exploded. I heard double what the numbers were last year. Again, continuing to take it to the next level. I would expect it to be even another level next year in 2026. And it's going to be around in some way, shape, or form. Again, some of these elements perhaps will get weaved into Neil's ITL Inside the League seminar event. Again, something that him and I talked about a little bit. Him and Rick Saratella, who was there, talked about. But again, there were really some elements that we liked some pieces of. Time to dive deeper, though. Time to get even more into the weeds. Something Neil and I love to do, something we are constantly doing here on this podcast and with everything we do. Get into the nitty gritty of it. And again, get more than surface level deep. So no matter where you're at, what you're doing, if you're a scout, aspiring scout, agent, somewhere in college personnel, again, what did you have at the Personnel Symposium that you'd love to dive deeper on? Again, whether it's a Zoom session, whether it's something at the combine, let us know. What do you want to dive deeper on? I've got some ideas, but again, we want to hear from you. What do you need? What do you want that we can really get into the weeds on? Let us know. We'll see if we can make it happen. Can't forget, before we go today, preseason football officially kicks off tonight. Hall of Fame game aside, 3 games tonight, 3 tomorrow before everyone else gets it going on Saturday, Sunday. If you want to know my thoughts on preseason ball, well, just look back in the archives about a week to the July 31st episode. I hit on the Hall of Fame game. Yes, different teams. The principles are the same. The idea of, again, looking at your roster, looking at the position battles, all of it's the same. Go back, look at that July 31st episode, listen to it, watch it, wherever you get it. Again, it's on the archives, whether it's Apple Podcasts, over on YouTube. Check that out. If you're curious, how can I watch preseason football and actually get something out of it? Obviously, quality of play is going to be down a little bit. We don't see a bunch, if any, of the starters. Again, go back, listen to that July 31st episode and get a little bit more. Looking forward to tomorrow's Friday wrap with Neil, his thoughts on the symposium. I fully plan on being back there next year with Neil, so I would imagine I will see so many of you back there again, if not before then. But before then, we do have a lot of football to be watched at both the NFL and college level, so keep scouting.